To walked home while crying. The next day, To was watering the plants, but he wasn't focused. Tae, who was getting ready to go to campus, saw To. He said that To would drown the plants before they even grew. To, who had been daydreaming, came back to his senses because of Tae. Tae asked whether the two of them had broken up again, and told him not to say that he missed Jimmy. To immediately answered no. Why would he miss Jimmy anyway? He was only thinking about the staff interview tomorrow. Tae tried to believe him. He said goodbye because he had an exam. Before leaving, he hugged his brother. Even though he felt sad seeing his brother's condition, Tae tried to stay strong. At campus, Jimmy and his two friends had just finished their exams. One of Jimmy's friends asked where the party would be held that night. Jimmy said he wasn't in the mood. His friend asked whether Jimmy had argued with someone, because Jimmy had looked irritable since that morning. Jimmy answered yes, because Tae kept tracking him like a detective. Jimmy's friend really wanted to see the person who made Jimmy uncomfortable, and who would end up apologizing. Jimmy explained that he wouldn't go back to anyone, even if he was the one at fault. Jimmy chose to leave his two friends behind. Outside Jimmy's condominium, To was sitting there waiting for him. When Jimmy saw To, he immediately went inside. To chased after Jimmy and apologized while hugging him. He shouldn't have suspected Jimmy, and he would never do it again. To promised. Hearing To's plea, Jimmy smiled. Jimmy reminded To not to ever do that again. To nodded and kissed Jimmy. After that, they spent time at the swimming pool. Jimmy and To played in the water. To was surprised when Jimmy was suddenly right in front of him. The two of them kissed again. When things were about to go further, suddenly Jimmy told To to go home, because he couldn't concentrate if To was there. Jimmy had to focus on studying. To forgot about Jimmy's exam. Before To left, Jimmy asked him to help feed Sensei. That night, To came home and saw Tae eating instant noodles. He apologized for not having time to cook. To was busy taking care of several businesses. When To was about to cook, Tae stopped him, saying he had already eaten. Tae asked what kind of business To meant, because it seemed as if To's soul had been sucked out of his body. To asked whether he really looked that bad. Tae answered yes, like someone who had just come back from war. Not wanting Tae to become more suspicious, To excused himself to take a shower. Seeing what was happening to his brother made Tae very sad. At campus, Tae ran into Jimmy. Tae asked whether Jimmy was still holding tightly onto his brother. Jimmy said that Tae should ask To himself. Tae said that Jimmy had fallen for To but hadn't realized it yet. To Jimmy, Tae was talking nonsense, because for him, that was impossible. Tae reminded him that it was fine if Jimmy didn't want to admit it, but Jimmy needed to know that patience has its limits. On the day when To finally realizes and gets tired, Jimmy himself will be searching for something worse than a stray cat. And Tae will be there, enjoying every single second of it. Jimmy only gave a cynical smile at what Tae said. That's all for this part. See you in the next episode 6. Thank you for watching and then have a nice day.